Good afternoon, and my apologies for the technical issues. This is PAEA's introductory webinar to our 2019 Education Forum Hill Day. And my name is Tyler Smith, and I'm the Director of Government Relations for the Physician Assistant Education Association. For folks who weren't able to see the original version, we'll be sure to send out the recorded version. But we wanted to take an opportunity today to give you an overview of what we have planned for the upcoming Education Forum Hill Day, why we believe it's important that all attendees plan to participate, and also give you a little bit of an overview of the policy issues that we'll be prioritizing during our advocacy in October. So in terms of the agenda that we'll be following during today's webinar, wanted to hit a few housekeeping items at the top. As I mentioned, we wanted to go a little bit into what we believe the value of grassroots advocacy is from our members, discuss some of the important deadlines and dates coming up, and then also give you an overview of what to expect both in preparing for the Forum Hill Day and then on the actual event itself. We'll also go a little bit into depth on the priority policy issues, which we'll be covering while we're up on the Hill. And then we also have some time reserved at the end for a question and answer period. So just a few housekeeping items at the top. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be disseminated via PAEA's communications channels, and also a version will be sent via email to all of the registered attendees. Questions that may come up throughout the presentation can be sent in the chat at any point, and they will be answered at the end, in addition to some of the questions that we received in advance of the presentation. So in terms of the value of grassroots advocacy and why we believe it's important that all members participate during the Education Forum and our Hill Day, members of Congress look to constituents when determining their key policy priorities. Each member of Congress has a comprehensive legislative agenda that they're looking to advance during their time on Capitol Hill, and it's critical that they hear from the PA programs, faculty, and students within their district to make sure that the interests of PA education is included within that legislative agenda. In addition to your ability to sway your members of Congress as constituents, you're also best equipped to convey the challenges facing your program and PA education broadly, so they have a better sense of how they can use their power as legislators to address some of the most pressing issues of their constituents. And then finally, at the federal level, as we look to develop relationships with congressional offices, your ability to help facilitate that relationship is key in ensuring that the interests of PA programs, faculty, and students are considered in key policy debates. In terms of the actual PAEA Education Forum Hill Day itself, the deadline to participate for the Hill Day through the regular forum registration process is August 15th. Just a quick note, it does take quite a bit of advance time in order to secure congressional meetings. And so this deadline is set in accordance with that. In terms of the actual Education Forum itself, on October 10th, we will be hosting an in-person training session at the Marriott Wardman Hotel from 5:20 p.m. to 6:10 p.m. Please note that attending the session is mandatory for Hill Day participants, as you'll be afforded an opportunity to coordinate with your state delegations and also receive briefing materials to help you prepare. And then on Friday, October 11th, the Hill Day will actually take place from 9:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. After the morning general session, we'll have charter buses available to Capitol Hill. So all state delegations will coordinate and leave from the hotel at 9:30 to travel up to Capitol Hill. These buses will transport attendees back to the hotel, at which point lunch will be available at 12:30. Please note the precise pickup location will be announced during the in-person training session on Thursday, October 10th. So with regards to what to expect both in preparing for the Hill Day and then also the Hill Day itself, so in late September, several weeks before the actual event, preparation materials will be sent by email to all attendees and also be made available on the advocacy channel of the Digital Learning Hub. While you are up on Capitol Hill, you will participate in 2 to 3 advocacy meetings with fellow representatives in your state delegation from PA programs throughout your state. At the training session on Thursday, each attendee will receive a briefing folder, including their schedule of Hill meetings, talking points, fact sheets on pressing issues in PA education, a map of Capitol Hill to help you navigate while you're up on the Hill, and then also forms in order to report your meeting outcomes to GR staff. Please note that the schedules that you receive during the training day are subject to last-minute changes because congressional staff schedules are often very fluid and change rapidly. So we're planning on communicating any changes via email to attendees. Also, because Congress is expected to be in recess on October 11th, please note that you won't be meeting with your representatives or senators directly, and you'll rather be meeting with their staff. All of the meetings that you'll be attending on the Forum Hill Day will be about 10 to 20 minutes in duration, so fairly brief. You'll have plenty of time to coordinate with your state delegation on approaches for your subsequent meetings, and then also to travel between office buildings to your next meetings. So with regards to the priority policy issues that we'll be discussing in October, one of them is a very pressing concern for PA educators and also a priority for the GR department. It's the CMS student documentation issue. And the other two priorities are more so in the legislative space and are the PA Education Modernization Acts. So with regards to the CMS documentation issue, just to provide you with a little bit of background, in February 2018, CMS updated its Medicare claims processing manual to allow teaching physicians to verify rather than re-perform medical record documentation provided by medical students during the provision of evaluation and management services. Currently, the issue is that CMS does not interpret teaching physician to include PA or NP preceptors or medical students to include PA and NP students. Because of this current interpretation, there's a disincentive for preceptors to train PA and NP students. And so what we're asking is for CMS to allow all preceptors to verify all student provided E&M documentation, which the Hill has significant leverage in being able to make happen. In terms of the first bill that we're asking members of Congress to support, HR 1685, the Physician and Assistant Higher Education Modernization Act, has a few key provisions. The first provision is that it would institute borrowing parity for PA students along with their peers in the health professions under the federal direct unsubsidized loan program. Currently, PA students are capped at a level of $20,500 each year, which is significantly lower than the average cost of tuition among PA programs, forcing them to utilize higher interest options over time. This bill would also designate PAs serving as faculty members to be eligible for loan forgiveness under the Areas of National Need program, and it would also allow PA programs to benefit from investments that the federal government makes in HBCUs, predominantly Black institutions, rural serving institutions, and minority serving institutions. It would also prioritize grants for program development at Hispanic serving institutions and authorize new grants for PA faculty development and program infrastructure improvements. The request for this bill is for members in the House to co-sponsor HR 1685, and then in the Senate, we're asking for senators to introduce a companion bill to the House version. With regards to the second bill, HR 1686, it's the Physician Assistant Education Public Health Initiatives Act. This bill is mainly intended to address the clinical site shortage by authorizing a 5-year demonstration program, providing resources to PA programs in order to facilitate clinical rotations at fairly qualified health centers, rural health clinics, and critical access hospitals. Further, this bill would reauthorize the Primary Care Training Enhancement Grant Program through fiscal year 2024, and also authorize a new grant program to support investments in PA education research. Similar to the first bill, the request is for members of Congress to co-sponsor the House version on the House side, and we're asking for members on the Senate side to introduce a companion bill to HR 1686. So that's just a brief overview of the plan that we have for the upcoming PAEA Education Forum Hill Day. At this point, we'll turn it over to any questions folks might have in the chat. And then if you have outside questions beyond the scope of this webinar on advocacy issues or other ways you can get engaged in support of PA education advocacy, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at tsmith@paeaonline.org. So while we wait for questions to come in from the chat, I wanted to address a few questions that we got in advance of the webinar. So question number one is, will I be meeting with representatives from where I live or my PA program? So while your representatives may overlap between where you live and where you work as a PA faculty member, we frequently have our advocates meet with the representatives of their PA programs, just because members of Congress like to hear what's actually going on in their district and state. So the short answer is you'll be meeting with the representatives of your PA program. The second question is, are there additional resources available that I can use to start preparing for a Forum Hill Day now? Yes. So in the advocacy channel of the Digital Learning Hub, you'll see that there are 5 modules focusing on different aspects of effective advocacy, ranging from how to communicate well in Hill meetings to how to have impactful follow-up. While these aren't critical to complete in advance of the Forum Hill Day, they really are good supplemental resources, but many of these will also be covered during the in-person training on Thursday, October 10th. In terms of how should I follow up after my meetings on Forum Hill Day, PAEA-GR staff will be disseminating a template for follow-up that's very generic and that can be tailored to how your meetings actually went. So keep a lookout for that in the weeks after the Forum Hill Day, and we will also provide congressional staff contact information. What will be included in the preparation materials distributed electronically in September? So as I mentioned earlier, we will be disseminating talking points, fact sheets on PA education, and then also information on the impact of PA education by state, including average tuition data, student enrollment data, and program director contact information, just to familiarize yourself with before you share this information with congressional offices. And then the final question that we received in advance is, are there additional opportunities for grassroots engagement that I should be aware of other than Forum Hill Day? So on the PAEA website, under the Advocacy tab, there's a link to PAEA's Grassroots Action Network. This is a centralized hub of resources for PA education advocates, including monthly Washington updates, action alerts on emerging policy issues, and then also additional educational materials on the policy issues that we prioritize. So please go ahead and visit that. If you aren't signed up for action alerts, please do so on that website. And that is the main other resource available to you. So we will give it just a minute for any other questions to come through the chat. And if not, thank you so much for joining us for the introductory Forum Hill Day webinar. And again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out at tsmith@paeaonline.org. Thank you.